Hey, all. Rich Lorton, VFE 360 Mobility. I just wanted to give you some insight as to how I've reached this point of VFE 360 Mobility. And it's been a long road, and not only has it been a long road as far as career wise, but educational wise, um, sports wise, coaching wise, my competitive years of playing sports. Um, the long road of like injuries, the ups and downs of life. It all happens. And really, I've been fortunate to come into contact with certain professionals, um, chiropractors, PTs, doctors, other therapists, um, and my schooling, my working in the mental health field and psychology for 15 years, um, working as a coach for 15 years in soccer and a few other sports, but the main one soccer competitively, being a part of wellness teams and a part of medical offices and being a part of medical teams for sports and playing a big role in those and really being thrown into like tons of like leadership roles throughout the years when I didn't think I was ready. Well, it's kind of like this. I didn't know if I was ready for creating VFE 360 mobility, but it came to a point where my body has really taken a beating by putting it out there for other people. And I've helped, like I said, thousands of people on an annual basis, and it's it's rewarding, but at the same time, when you're at a high demand, it really takes its toll on on your body, and that's where I am, and that's where my thought has been for the past 5 years is how can I create another platform? How can I make myself accessible for more people to take advantage of my knowledge, to to take advantage of my expertise, to utilize the tools that I have that I know that are useful and effective, and that can really like continue to utilize my help, my services, my support during times when I just can't do it anymore physically. And I still am, but not as uh, intense and not as long a days. And but this platform allows me to allow people to have everything that's been in my head and everything that I've provided for other people. It's right here on this app, and it is a huge opportunity for me to give even to people around the world that I can't wait to actually use this information, use the platform of VFE 360 Mobility. And not only does this open it up even more on a universal scale, but it actually helps, VFE gain more exposure too, and to help my therapists as they continue to grow in VFE and be part of the team VFE. But I'm sharing these slides to expose a little bit about my sports background, and this is just a handful of years. This has not. This doesn't even show what I've done at age 5. And a lot of what I've learned and done is and been through is because of the trial and errors and the defeats and the failures that I had as an athlete and that I went through as an athlete. And throughout the years, I had to help other athletes because I was their teammate, or I was coaching, or I was training them in personal training or strength and conditioning or therapeutic exercise. I was always dealing with people's pain. You know, at age 14, I was uh, wrapping my own ankles because I was tired of waiting in line in the athletic training room in high school. And I told the athletic trainer, teach me how to tape. I don't want to stand in line anymore. I can do this myself. And he showed me how to tape. And I was taping my own ankles for soccer games. And next thing I knew, he would keep a box of tape for me in the athletic room, and I'd pop in there, and he's like, "Here you go, Rich." Throw me a box, and I'd take the tape, put it in my bag, and leave the box, and wait till a couple days later and get some more tape. I was taping my own teammates' ankles as a teenager. I had it down, and so it was in me already, you know. And even at a young age, when I was 9, 10 years old, I was training friends to play soccer because they wanted to play better, and I excelled in soccer. That was one of my strongest sports, and so I would spend time after school training these kids. They were the same age as me, and training them in the sport I loved, and trying to get them better so they could actually make the team. um, but I just was always in the helping, like in a helping role, even though I loved the sports and everything. I have a passion for sports and working with athletes, but I was always in that helping role. And years down, you should have seen my bag. It was so organized with all the things I needed. uh, and if anybody needed anything, they knew that they could ask me. Don't go in my bag, but ask me. And I had band-aids, whatever. I had everything, scissors, you name it, I had it. And it's kind of the same thing as my bag that I have now that I work. And when I work in the offices, I have everything I need in there. And someone needs something, I probably have it, but throughout the years, I had a lot of rolled ankles, I had my own injuries, and really I paid attention to those injuries, and what really made me pay attention to those were the fact that when I turned to a doctor, and the doctor, when I let's take my right knee injury for example. When I injured my right knee in soccer, they barely touched my knee. The doctor barely touched my knee. Okay, and so he first thing he said is, "You're going to need surgery." And I said, "Wait a sec, you haven't even provided me any physical therapy. Can't anything be done?" And he's like, "No." And I said, "Well, wait, why can't I rehab it myself? And what are you going to do?" So, well, what if I rode the stationary bike? Not that much resistance, in fact, zero resistance. And he goes, "Yeah, zero resistance." I said, "But in time, I can put more resistance at it as it strengthens, and then I can also maybe start doing other exercises." He goes, "Yeah, you could do that." Okay, well, how about I put a floaty around my waist, and I go to the pool in the deep, and I run in the deep, and let get that motion in my leg. "Yeah, you can do that. Just don't go and stay in the deep. Don't go in the shallow. Don't put any pressure." I said, "Okay, but eventually I can do that." And he said, "Yeah, possibly." Well, 7 months down the road from that conversation, I rehabbed my knee. I was doing squats. I was doing lunges. I was running. I was doing trail running. I was playing soccer again. I was mountain biking, and surfing, and it again. And that moment was like, there has to be more answers to injuries other than surgery. I had pretty negative experiences with doctors growing up. I had a plantar's wart in my foot that I reacted to the shot. The doctor just you know wasn't paying attention, and I had a near cardiac arrest. you know so my back my history with the medical field hasn't been that great. And but the fortunate thing is they did help me, because I did end up over time having Achilles issue because I sprained my ankle so much that it caused an Achilles issue. And but what I learned in 2006, which is when I snapped my Achilles tendon, is that my whole chain on my leg from my lower back down was really extremely tight. And I found out because I had this giant couch that I was like putting my leg on, and it felt so good just to smash my hamstring and my adductor area. And I would get up and the pain would decrease, it would minimize, but it's still there. And so then as I was running, I'm like, wow, from soccer, I was a big ball of foot runner. I was really fast. I was quick, a lot leaner than what I am now. And, um, but, uh, but that caused a lot of strain on my Achilles as well, especially rolling my ankle several times. And it was my right ankle. So I tried to change to a midfoot runner, and so when I did that, I was like, oh, that took a lot of the tension off. And now let me roll my leg out and get massage on my leg. And it, within a week of me changing that, I was feeling a little better. But then I went and played soccer. And that night that I played soccer, it was too late. My Achilles must have been shredded already, and it snapped. Complete rupture, and I had no Achilles, and my foot was just kind of dangling there. Um, but I've been able to recover from that, not completely. I lost some strength, but at the same time, I had other issues that actually surfaced from that. And that was like compensation issues that nobody told me about. Even the PTs that I was working with, they didn't tell me that I would have compensation issues. I learned that all myself. I learned it when I was doing CrossFit. And I found out, like when I started doing triathlons and running a lot, I found out that my left hip was killing me, and it's the opposite side of my Achilles, the reconstruction. And I kept feeling like more aches in my lower back on my hip. Well, I thought it was a water, the hydration belt, and so I stopped wearing a hydration belt. Well, it minimized it a little, but then it came right back. And so I just started playing with it again. And then I was like, well, what is it? And so I adjusted my hips a little when I was running, and I'm like, oh, wow, that feels a lot better. And so I, I started kind of thinking about, okay, well, maybe I'm running just on my left leg. And sure enough, it was like I was using my right leg as a kickstand, and I wasn't even activating my glute. I wasn't activating my upper leg. It was just like nothing was really functioning on that side, uh, how it should be. And then I saw a video of me doing CrossFit and doing squats, and sure enough, it looked like I was doing one-legged squats. And then I looked at myself at cycling, and I started really paying attention to my mechanics, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just rolling that leg through the rotation. I'm not even really using it. And even in swimming, I wasn't even activating that right side. That's where I really just started breaking things down and really, really getting deep into, I was always into behavior modification because of psychology. I'm huge into behavior cognitive and bringing that mind, the mental aspect, and the psyche aspect into your behavioral aspect of your body and your entire behavior, and how your mind can influence the behavior, and they would play into each other. But that was a huge part, is like behavior modification. You We have to deal with behavior modification in our bodies with what we do in the everyday. But if we don't make that connection with the mind and the body, it's not going to happen. And that's when I started doing. I knew I was doing it in the past, because in coaching, I was coaching mechanics of my players. I was always breaking down their mechanics of how they're passing and shooting. How are they moving lateral? What body, like the chains and the certain chains in their body, which are they using the correct ones? Are you using your core, using your glutes and stuff? I was always into that, but never did I know it was going to be as in depth when I snapped my Achilles, how severe it was causing other issues in my body. I was pretty fortunate that my mom, when I was younger in my teenage years, she would send me this lady to get body work. And so I was getting body work. So I was always still like really in tune with my body. And so throughout the years, I've always continued to get body work. And I'm thankful that my mom had me do that as a teenager. I just went. She just told me to go, and I'd go. And I do it today. So, um, but it really helped me stay in tune with my body, so down the road, I've, throughout the years, all the way from, you know as a teenager rolling my ankle to throughout the rest of the years of a torn quad, pulled hamstrings, calf cramps, rolled ankles, two knee injuries for soccer, dislocated my arm from my shoulder, a back locked up on me plenty of times, and so there was many times during that period where I didn't have help. I didn't have someone to turn to. I didn't have a program to turn to. I didn't have like someone supporting me and giving me some valid answers and some valid uh, a platform like VFE 360 Mobility, a platform that has something in place that I can actually turn to when I need it. And actually, you know, I'm going to push people and emphasize that it's don't turn to it when you think you need it. Turn to it every day. Every day, turn to it because you got 15 minutes of your day that you utilize this platform and these programs. That's all they are. They're 15 minutes a day. You can do more. You can do 30, 45, however. And one one session is 15 minutes. Okay. I wish I had that when I was the age of the teenagers that I work with now. The runners in their 20s, the the people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s still running, you know. Take advantage of this at this time. Don't put it aside. Really, I've seen the value of it. I've seen the outcomes of it. Of everything that I've put on there for many years and with thousands of people. I cannot stress how important this is to add to your training blocks, to your exercises, to just your everyday doing. You don't have to do it just in the morning. You can do it at night. You can do it whenever. But this is the value of it. And this, I give you my story because this is where this comes out, because I didn't have something like this. I didn't have this when I was like locked up in my back, 3 weeks back in 2004, 2013, I think it was. And I could barely walk. I couldn't even lift my leg in to get in the shower. I had to crawl to the bathroom to go to the restroom. If I would have had something like this, it would have just taken me out of that situation much quicker. Wouldn't have been such a physical crisis. But you know, if it, I share these videos because I can relate to the pain that you guys go through, to at any level, at any level. I've pushed myself. I know how it is, to cramp in a race, and I know how it is to run out of hydration. I know how it is to not have enough nutrition. I know how it is when you don't plan effectively for a race, and these are things that I'll get into with the VFE 360 mobility. This is, again, this program doesn't take much of your day, but I've had people start using it, and let me tell you, they started with 15 minutes in the day, and they've done it like two or three other times throughout the day. Or they said, you know what, I wanted more, so I did another round. Was that all right, Rich? I'm like, yeah, of course it's all right. So they did 30 minutes instead of 15. That's great. That's awesome. That means it's doing what it's supposed to do. So I look forward to actually seeing more results and seeing a lot of you get the best out of this and get the most use out of it. And by the looks of these pictures, I hope some of you guys go and visit some of this stuff and go do Santa Barbara Triathlon and go see Twin Lakes, and go swim in the pool, go run, a couple marathons a year, but do a triathlon. But the sky's the limit when you get rid of pain, and pain can be a killer, and it can really stifle your goals. And sometimes we sit in our pain, and that pain becomes very long term. and that pain will travel through other areas of your body. And I'll get into that much more in other videos, but that I put on here. But you know, do yourself a favor and take care of the most important vehicle that you have, and that's your body. Okay.